Hello again, John Burroughs here. I'm going to be doing podcast number 17. It's going to be called It Took a Pandemic. So I will go ahead and begin. Before I actually get into the meat of what I want to talk about today, I want to apologize if you hear any lisp or if I seem to sound strange. I have partial dentures, and it makes me sound like Wayne Newton sometimes. So anyway, I wanted to make that apology should you hear that during the audio here. Okay, it took a pandemic. What I mean by that is there was no nay votes when it came to passing the stimulus package because of this coronavirus. In other words, Congress saw eye to eye, and they agreed, and there was not one nay vote in the Senate. How it went in the House of Representatives, I don't know. But why did it take a pandemic for us to start realizing that we have a broken system in our democracy? And what I'm trying to say by that is really simple. Well, it's not simple. Let me go back. It's the way our congressional leaders have chosen to conduct the business of a democracy. It's the way our congressional leaders have chosen to take on the duty of being a congressional leader. First of all, when you take on becoming a congressman or a senator or a president, vice president, cabinet member, whatever the position may be in the government, you should be doing it out of patriotic reasons, not how you can profit from it, how it will gain you notoriety in the future, how it will get you speaking engagements, how it will do all those things. You should become one of those people that see this as a solemn duty to your country, the greatest experiment in history, democracy. Now, I can only talk from experience and logic, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about and why I think it's so broken, and when this thing is all over, it'll never be the same, and we can never have a separation in the country where 51% of the people are getting what they need through their representatives and 49% of the people can't get what they need because they usually can't get the vote. And what I'm talking about is, I'm going to talk about my experience in business. I've worked from everything from a small business to a medium-sized business to a large corporate business. And in every single one of those businesses, they can be run basically one of two different ways. And the way they're run, I mean, there's many things that surround that, but you can have an organization, let's say a medium to large corporation, where their philosophy is tops-down management. In other words, everything is tops down. So your marching orders come from the top, and they trickle all the way down to you, no matter where you are within that matrix, okay? And the problem with tops down is they're really not interested in employee feedback. They're not really interested, in most cases, in employee ideas. And what usually starts happening is people start feeling really undervalued, especially the top performing people in the company, the ones that are bringing in the majority of the revenue, the ones that are supporting those that bring in the revenue, the ones that are dedicated to their jobs, the ones that are exceeding requirements on a consistent basis. And they are the ones that start leaving in droves in a tops-down management type of system. And the reason why they're the ones that start leaving first is they already know that they can go somewhere else because they're so damn good at what they do. They've already been courted by other companies. They've just been loyal. But eventually, when a company sticks to a top-down form of managing, eventually they will get frustrated and leave, and you're left with just the average and below average performers, which will eventually hurt your company. And the people that are going to replace all those great people that left are going to be those same average to below average performers that were let go by were left off in other companies, and they want to go try and find a different opportunity. So what I'm proposing is we're going to have to fix our democracy, and nothing's going to be perfect. And I can't give you all the answers because I'm only going to speak from my experience. There's people out there a lot smarter than me that can fine-tune this. But the other form of management style is bottoms up. So what that means is the employees are intimately involved with what's going on in the company, and they take their opinions and and ideas and all those type of things, and that goes up the ladder to each stage, and each stage values that, and it becomes a value-added stream that when it gets to the top, all of a sudden, the top realizes, wow, look at the employees we have and the ideas they've come up with. And the company becomes stronger, better, more competitive, and their people are more loyal because they know they are being valued. So how do we do a bottoms-up management style in this country? So I'm gonna give you my idea of an outline. The fine-tuning of it is going to have to be left to those who know much more than me in this case. And please don't mistake this. I'm not trying to sound like Bernie Sanders, okay? This is an entirely different idea. I am just slightly right of moderate, or maybe I'm right down the middle by now. I don't know. But the bottoms up style of managing a country should be the same as managing a company. So if it were me, I would start at the city level, and the city would have elections and control of what they needed for their city to please whatever the people in their city wanted, and that can be broken down by percentages. For instance, let's say there's something particularly a hot subject in a city, and 70% of, let's say it's concerning funds going to certain places, and 70% of the people want the funds to go here, and 30% of the people want the funds to go there. Well, they just gave you the answer. Give 70% of the funds to how the people voted, and the other 30% of the funds go to where the other people wanted, okay? And the city gets to decide that, okay? And then where the federal government gets involved is, well, actually, in this case, in the tops up, if there comes to an impasse, then it would go to the governor's office. And the governor's office would look at things and how the people voted and whatever the case may be, and he would look at all the different ideas. And in that case, now he's in charge of the state. So if that came, just to make this more expedient, if for some reason whatever the issue was came to an impasse, then he would pass it on to the federal government, okay? And the federal government would then determine where funds need to go and all those type of things. Now, how to do that, how to fine tune it, I don't nearly have the experience or logic in the political arena. One thing I do know, though, is we are going to be a changed country after all this has happened. The politicians have already shown that not all of them, once again, not all of them, but have shown that they pretty much don't represent their constituency. They represent what they really want. And so the other idea would be at every level on extremely important issues that can affect the the people in the city, state, or across the country, either adversely or positively, should always go to a popular vote and let the popular vote decide that. And whatever the percentages come out in the popular vote, that's how things should be dispersed or how things should be decided. So anyway, we have to start over. I play a lot of Yahtzee, and sometimes in Yahtzee, I don't want to compare a game to a government, but for those of you who have played it, I'm not going to explain the rules. You roll the dice, and you're looking to get either a consecutive number like 3, 4, 5, 6, or 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, full house. It's kind of like a poker dice game. And what happens is sometimes as you fill in the blanks and get the points for the appropriate categories, you're down to a few categories left, and you roll the dice. In the first, you get 3 rolls, and the first roll, there's nothing there that helps you. So you can take one of the dice out and try something that's a long shot, or you just put them all back in and you start over. And that's what we have to do with the democracy. Okay, we have to start over. We have to get people that are patriots, and those people that are patriots that choose to be mayors or elected officials in a city, government, or federal environment also need to understand that they're doing that out of a patriotic duty, and they will get paid to do that, but not nearly the type of money they're getting paid now, and not nearly the ability to manipulate the system like they do. There's all sorts of examples I can give, but let's just talk about the senators that after coronavirus briefings pulled their money out of the stock market because they had knowledge beforehand, while the rest of us watched our stocks drop. They took their money and ran. Okay, is that a patriot? Is that someone that's interested in the people? So what I'm proposing is a bottoms-up form of management in the democracy, and we will need a lot less people. Yes, we'll have to have elections. Those elections will have to be closely scrutinized, and people that are put in certain positions will have to be vetted extremely, and to make sure that we can trust who is guiding our country, because democracy is the greatest form of government. It doesn't mean it doesn't need to be reorganized or revamped at some point in time. So for those of you politicians out there that are patriots, you'll understand what I'm saying. For those of you politicians out there who got into this because it was a good gig, then you won't understand what I'm saying. So I really don't have a lot more to say about it. I hope you understand the concept of what I'm saying. I'm not, because I say bottoms up, I'm not talking about socialism. I'm talking about listening and valuing your people and getting the right patriotic people in place that are honored to have the privilege of serving their country and their constituency, like when this country began, the politicians back then did it on a voluntary basis. They all held other jobs. Gosh, what's wrong with that? Anyway, that's just my idea, because things are going to be drastically different when this is all over. And I would really like to see the stimulus bill. I imagine there's pork in there too. But anyway, I'm not going to get into all of that. So now you know how I feel about the pandemic. And the other thing is, if we make it through it, we have to do this. There's no guarantee we're going to make it through it. Once again, John Burroughs signing off. Please feel free to comment. Please feel even more free to subscribe. Thank you again. John Burroughs signing off.